sidestep from Day. Dances out of dodge, and from 45, Day delights. Pick 56 in 2013, the All-Australian skipper for the Hawks, James Sicily, in game 150. Strikes it pure. It's still going. Dylan Moore wants to take his kick. Sicily's alone at the top of the goal square. What a gift, and he set it out of the Adelaide Oval. Watch out if you park close to the Bob Quinn gate, because your car's in danger.
Ball comes off the pack. Ginnivan picks it up, snaps it over the shoulder, and another one for the Hawks.
And Hawthorn's fairy tale writes another chapter. The Hawks are soaring towards the top 8 after a 0-5 start.
It was a contest until it wasn't. The Hawks crushing the Crows by 66 points. They made amends for this year's heartaches at Adelaide Oval, building yet more momentum towards that against all odds finals berth. Who knows what happens from here? One thing's for sure though, like Hawthorn fans everywhere, we're very much enjoying the ride. Thanks for tuning in to another Hawk Talk podcast. I'm Nick, with me as always is Tiz, and mate, meeting up at the pub for this one was a pretty good call.
Hey, that was a very good call. It was great to have atmosphere without much of the commentary.
Well, see, I would argue that we actually had a double dose of commentary because the other game was happening at the same time. And so we also had a double dose of whistles from the umpire, which made things slightly confusing.
No more confusing than usual, surely.
It's an indictment on the umpiring, isn't it? When you can hear a whistle and go, oh, look what they've plucked out now. Even though you're watching the screen, you know it's nothing, but you can't count it out, Tiz. Don't ever rule it out.
What was particularly remarkable about this game is 66 points 2 weeks running. That is very strange.
Yes, another 11-goal shellacking. Doesn't matter if it's rain, hail or shine. We'll get it done.
Hawthorn had an expected score of 112 and an actual score of 124, but that's not really the thing. The accuracy was 61%, which is fantastic for us, and at an away ground.
Well, it started well, didn't it? I mean, we kicked the first 5 straight.
In that first quarter, Nix had a plan, and it worked. And we kept giving the ball back. Couldn't find a way through. And then that second quarter was a bit of an arm wrestle. And then it's very odd. After that, nothing Adelaide tried seemed to work. We were controlling the ball up through the guts of the game, and Chol started getting involved, and Will Day did what he liked in that second quarter, and he did something about Will Day in the third quarter. He didn't have anywhere near the impact, but the game was well and truly won by the halfway through that third quarter. It was an incredible performance by a young side that still has very few, in terms of when you look around the league, we're one of the least experienced teams out there, and this is a thoroughly professional performance.
Well, I think you're right in saying that towards the start of the game, it was uncharacteristically nervy, actually, from Hawthorn. I haven't seen that in a hot minute, and they were making mistakes, and, you know, just as Adelaide had planned it. I mean, they scored 33 points off turnovers to start the game. That was the stat at one point, and as soon as we sharpened that up and got our act together, started finding some space and slicing through them like a hot knife through butter. I mean, Impey's goal. And even Ginnivan taking a mark uncontested inside 50, looks around and goes, oh, I had that much space. Okay. And then he just wheels around and kicks the goal. I mean, those were indicators that it was all starting to fall apart for Adelaide.
Well, that second quarter where the game turned and we started controlling the football and waiting for options and being quite patient about what we did, I noticed that some of our younger players like Connor McDonald and certainly Chol put his hand up in that quarter because he didn't have a touch in the first quarter, but Chol and Giath and Ward all had major contributions in that second quarter.
We need to talk about Connor McDonald because he's rightly voted the fan MVP. He was sensational. That is arguably his best game for the club. And this is coming off a performance where he kicks 4. So he's in a rare patch of form at the moment. 28 touches, 366 metres gained, 21 pressure acts, which I love, 14 score involvements, including 2 goals himself and 3 direct goal assists. I mean, that is a comprehensively awesome performance.
Yeah, I felt a bit for Will Day, I've got to be honest.
How do you mean?
Well, I thought his game in that second quarter was unbelievable. And the fact that, we were sitting in the pub having a few. We even ate after the game. We were that content with the win.
Hearts full, bellies full.
But Will Day, 20 disposal, 80% disposal efficiency, 12 contested, 7 tackles, 7 inside 50s, and a stupendously good goal.
Yeah, I mean, apart from Jarman Impey, probably my favourite goal of the day. That was a superb finish.
Come on, tell us your Jarman Impey story, mate.
I don't know if he wants me to say, but he might have slid into our DMs, but that's all I'll say, all right?
Well, there has been questions about exactly what that celebration was, because it's obviously a fantastic-looking celebration. I've seen Cristiano Ronaldo do it for a few years after he scores, but you put together a video.
Yeah, because everyone knew this celebration to be a football thing, as in a world game football thing, whereas all I saw was Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, that's where I know it. Is that so? What is it? Because if they say Sue,
Oh, we sound like such old men. We're so out of touch. Why are we doing this?
no, but you got to tell us because people have asked, what was that? So it's what, an anime thing, is it?
Yeah, the thing I did was an anime thing, which in itself I think dates back to the 90s. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, but is that where Ronaldo gets it?
Yeah, he's a huge Goku fan.
Oh, he's not. Okay, so it's totally different.
Well, I assume so. Look, it could be egg on my face to find out that he's deep into the anime and manga world, but something tells me that's not the case.
All right. Well, that was very confusing for me, but we'll move right along.
Well, Jars liked it. Let's just say that and move on, all right?
Yeah, no, he enjoyed it.
That's all that matters.
Now, under the title Confusing, we also read the haircuts for John Newcombe and Jack Ginnivan.
It is interesting, isn't it? I mean, they're not terrible haircuts. It's just very jarring, that's all.
Ginnivan looked a bit like Watson, actually, especially in the way that he got his head compressed by McElhenney at one point. Is there no protection for the head anymore? Is it not sacrosanct? It's just ridiculous. They just ticked that off and said, move right along. The kid's not even 20 and they're letting that happen to him. What's going on? I don't understand.
The age shouldn't even factor into it. That is an illegal act in football. That was my understanding. How can you repeatedly drive an opponent's head into the turf? And that's not an acceptable act on the football field.
Well, the reason I bring up his age is it's designed to intimidate. You know.
Does Watson require 4 or 5 guys to bring him down? That's what happened, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if anything, that actually just says how much he gets under their skin.
I know. This is what I was going to move on to say. You know how they're advertising all these Hawk shirts and everything? I'm not interested in any of that. I just want them with a lapel mic, both Guinea and Watto. And if you're at the ground, you get to hear what they're chirping to their opponents.
I reckon they would be absolute nightmares. Just shit talkers of the highest caliber. It would be infuriating to play against these guys. And it's only getting worse. They're only getting more confident.
I know. The confidence that brimmed in that third quarter, it was just ridiculous. And some of the things Chol was doing, you know, he didn't get a touch in that first quarter, but he finishes with 17 disposals, 8 marks, 2 of which are contested. 5 of his own inside 50s, 8 scoring involvements, and kicked 2 goals, 1 with 2 goal assists. You know, we haven't had that kind of output from a forward, from a key forward for a long time.
Much like Mabior Chol himself, that game of his sort of snuck up on me because I remember watching it with you. I didn't really have Chol in my best, but by the final siren, I thought, oh, well, actually, I think he's going to have to be.
In the past, if he wasn't playing well, it was very hard to get him involved, but now they're finding ways to get him involved, and he is too. I thought our pressure wasn't great in that first quarter, and I thought Adelaide had their tails up from the week before. So they brought some real pressure in that first quarter, and then, you know, Sammy got in their ears and they responded and came back at them. But to do that in front of that Adelaide crowd, because they were up and about, they knew that Adelaide were capable of winning this game at the end of that first quarter, and to take it away from them in the way that they did and score and keep running and keep that hunger, and then to rub their nose in it by putting 150-gamer Sicily up forward late on to score twice, including the one that was just over the top after the free kick to Moore.
Oh, mate, the roar in the pub. Because the camera stayed with the melee, the brawling, and meanwhile I was sitting there like, well, this is a bit pathetic, because I can hear from the crowd that something else has happened. I can hear that someone's kicked a goal, and then the scoreboard changes. I'm like, oh, come on, Fox, like, get with it. Show us what happened. And then the reveal of Sicily and just waiting there for the goal square to get the pass, to boot it through. And the commentary, which you'll actually hear at the start of our episode. You don't know this yet, mate, because I haven't put it in. Obviously, I have to wait to the edit. But the commentary from the South Australian broadcasters basically says, yep, just watch out. If you've got a car there.
I think it was awarded 50, wasn't it, as well? Because Moore had the free kick, and I think they paid him 50, and he didn't bother to take it. He just gave it across. It was so hard to follow.
It's highly disciplined from Moore to not get sucked into all of that nonsense and just go, yeah, give me the footy. And Sicily says, give it to me. I mean, they're two experienced heads who knows what's what, because there was a lot happening off the ball right in front of their faces. It could have been really easy to lose a bit of money, which is all that happened from that whole incident. People got fined, and that's it.
Pathetic.
Mate, I want to bring us back to friend of the show, Jarman Impey, because we didn't talk up his stats. 20 touches at 80% disposal efficiency. 17 of those are uncontested possessions. They, once again, no respect to Jarman. 501 metres gained, 8 marks, 7 intercept possessions, 6 inside 50s, a goal, as we said. All this from just 79% game time. Pretty impressive.
Oh, I didn't realise that. 79%. Yeah. Meek only had 71% too, which is interesting. They're really guarding his body. You saw Nash go into the ruck and Chol go into the ruck late.
Well, you happen to notice that. You speculated, is he injured? What's he doing off the ground? It's not that we especially needed him at that point, but yeah, I think they are making a habit of resting guys when they feel they can.
Let's have a look at Josh Ward, because there's been speculation about he's one of the last in, one of the first out. 19 disposals at 84% disposal efficiency and 6 scoring involvements. He's doing everything he can to stay in this lineup, and I think he's got a deserved spot. The other bloke who's also a bit peripheral, but you can understand why they get him every week, and hopefully his shoulder's fine, CJ, his pressure on the weekend was terrific. He was headlong at the football sometimes.
You know what I'm loving about his game lately is I see him float into the forward line. It's already a pressure cooker enough as it is for opposition teams, and then to have CJ, lurking and prowling around down there to heap more heat on those teams. I think it's great. I love it. It's like Jaws, that forward 50. Like, we have players of all shapes and sizes to harass and really corral and bother the opposition.
They do that really well too, because if the defenders of our opponents look set, they chuck Weddle down there or they chuck CJ down there during the play. And so it pulls them out of their positions, and they've got to think about, oh, hang on, am I staying... You're a bit taller. Perhaps we don't need you on Watson. And a lot of the time, they just bring the ball to ground, and creating opportunities for our smalls.
So I'm going to scroll down our rundown, because we had a question that springs to mind here. This one from Michael. Is Sam trying to turn this team into the first AFL exponents of total football? Nash is everywhere, Weddle ditto, Sicily plays as a defender and can play forward, Newcombe plugs into the midfield and can float forward, Moore and Watson can also switch, and I'll add one to this from Michael here, Hardwick. I mean, you talk about Weddle floating forward now, mate. We can pull that trigger just as easily as well. And in South Australia, you wouldn't have been surprised, right, if Hardwick suddenly found himself forward.
No, exactly. He's got great form in South Australia. But and that's an absolute tick. Total football is the aim. You are so much more unpredictable to your opponents. You have so many more options as a coach. If you can throw people wherever you need them, and they all know lock and key. During the three-peat, and even under Clarko, he was very much, everyone needs 2 positions, sometimes 3, and everybody needs to know where everybody should be in certain scenarios. And there was a famous article about Duray and Rioli, I think. And Cyril needed to know where Duray was in the last 2 minutes of a close game in the back pocket. And if they're behind in the last 2 minutes of a game, Duray needs to know where he should be if he needs to play Cyril's role in the forward pocket. And so that's definitely what Sam's going for. But I didn't expect with this, without as many first-round draft picks as we have on this list, having experienced all that success, that he'd be able to do it with these guys. And he's doing it really, really well.
Week in, week out, it is really working well, yeah.
It's not only talent, you need endeavour, and you need the ability to learn what your teammates are doing, but also to be able to execute that on the day under pressure when you haven't done it before. That's quite remarkable too. So we saw some remarkable things on the weekend because it's just when we got it on our terms, and it wasn't easy to get it on our terms because we were so pressurised off the half-back line that we were giving the ball up. But when we made sure that we could get pressure on their half-backs, they gave it back far more readily than we did. And they were far more nervous. And we got some really good, easy goals when we punished them. That was the great part.
I mean, one goal that springs to mind is when it just falls into Sicily's lap. I mean, the game's over by that point, I get it, but I thought that was pretty poor. Sicily's milestone game was pretty serviceable. I mean, 18 disposals, 8 marks, 2 goals. Quite liked Jai Newcomb as well. Stat sheet a bit modest in that he just had the 22 touches, but 81.8% disposal efficiency, a team-high 6 clearances I thought was good, and 2 goals for him as well.
Well, I'd just like to point out that the highest touches was 28. And, you know, people were talking about where are we going to get our midfield bull from? Well, they spread the load.
Yeah, they do. They do.
That's why when you look at these performances and you're waiting for them to fall off a cliff, it's not all about one guy doing everything. They're really spreading what they need to do in that midfield. And sometimes you look at the midfield options that they've set for the bounce and you're like, oh, that's not the best. But it seems to work over time.
Well, I mean, even after all this time, I still have my idea of the A-grade midfield, like the top tier that you know, the kind that you'd write in a lineup, the kind that you'd have on paper instantly. But I don't know, I'm seeing merit in trying different combinations because they're working. They're giving us a different look and they're proving effective. Staying with the midfield, I think Worpel and Nash were excellent in their pressure. They had 8 tackles each, which is fantastic.
I mean, even with Sicily, he's obviously hampered. So I was looking at Box Hill and seeing, are they going to give Sicily, a week off or something? Probably when we get to the easy beats like Carlton. And Sarong played a blinder. So his form over the last 2 months really demands he play. But you look at our defenders and who are you going to drop? You've got Frost, who's having his best season ever in light of your single.
The Frostball video.
Yeah.
I mean, none of what I've said about Frost has aged well. I was only ever joking. Let's put that out there. But, I mean, he's been terrific this year. He's been solid as a rock and he's hit his trigger for an extension. So he'll be through to the end of 2025 for Hawthorn, which is fantastic. But, yeah, he's been great.
But I think there is room for Sarong if you've got, like, the twin forward line at Carlton. I think he could do well there. I don't see Sicily really getting into an arm wrestling contest with a couple of those guys and coming out feeling good after it.
Yeah, they've got to be wary of that. I mean, obviously a very tough assignment for Sarong on return to the side, but yeah, I mean, look, an opportunity is an opportunity, and they're not going to come easily when, I've plucked out these disposal efficiency stats that I was talking about on Twitter today. Our defenders, listen to this, Frost at 100%. I know he doesn't get a stack of it, and it's probably how he uses it, but, 100%, Scrimshaw 94, Hardwick 93, Weddle 92, Sicily 88, Impey 80. I mean, it's a pretty decent backline with their distribution there. You can't really fault that too much.
Yeah, and that just indicates that the pressure on them is minimal.
I think we're taking good options even under a bit of duress, to be honest. That's what I was noticing in the game. And when I saw the stats, I thought, yeah, that kind of reflects how I was watching it. So,
moving along to questions, Hayden asks, did anyone predict this when we were 3 goals down within 3 minutes against the Dogs at Marvel? And of course, the answer is no.
Hayden, I didn't even predict we'd win that game.
Yeah. Yeah. They're looking good too, the Dogs now. Could somebody above us just start following? I think the obvious one that let us in the 8, because we're knocking on the door now. I think the obvious one is Port. They're the one we have to get past, isn't it?
Yeah, and I know they had a good win, and yet I'm still not convinced. I watched a fair segment of that game against Carlton, and I found myself more focused on Carlton's deficiencies rather than Port Adelaide being incredible.
Well, they've lost their best element, which was their midfield. That's just fallen away. But I'd say they're probably just, doubling the workload, get the fitness up for finals. They know they're going to be there. That's probably what it is.
Did anyone predict this when we were 3 goals down at the start of the game against the Dogs? No, I don't think they did. I thought, genuine strife. We lost, or at least we thought we were losing Sicily to a severe shoulder injury in that game. I didn't anticipate he'd be back on. I didn't anticipate he'd win us the game. But, I mean, the turnaround since then, I know in terms of what's been inspiring the boys or what's been fueling them, it has been the Suns game. It's been the Port game as well. But, I mean, that win against the Dogs was very brave. It had a lot of ticker about it. I reckon that would have played a part too.
Every now and again you get to see the spirit of a side, and that was the day you saw the spirit of a team come together and get the result, get us over the line. Tom says, who else is enjoying hearing the Oppo teams tear themselves a new one the day after losing to us? They really still think we're the team of last year, which is great for us because I'm not sure if they're underprepared, but the spectators, their attitude towards Nix after that game was even some of the talkback hosts. They're like, why do we still have him? And it's taken Hawthorn like 18 months to rebuild. What is going on? He's been rebuilding for 4 or 5 years, and you're like, this is beautiful music. Turn it up.
Before you flagged the performance of one Jai Sarong, I think we better get to the Box Hill recap here. 13-12-90, we defeated Williamstown 10-8-68. A vital 4 points. I mean, this was another big clash inside the top 8. It was going to always shape the 8. And, Williamstown, they're a fellow top 4 aspirants, and we managed to get past them to move into outright 5th on the VFL ladder. And, we're held in good stead. Do I change my mind about Box Hill based on this result? Well, especially given that Williamstown sort of stormed back into it in a hurry. No.
Well, I thought they got caught on the hop after half-time, but they responded really well. Like, it was pretty clear when they got their act back together, they were the much better side. It's just they got a little bit complacent there for a while, and there are a couple of players off being really the top line, and I think in the VFL as it is at the moment, there's much better outfits, but on their day they can definitely, if you have to travel interstate, it's very difficult for the VFL boys because I'm not sure they're that used to it, to be honest.
Well, that's going to be the task this week. Before we get to that, though, we need to sing the praises of some of the stars in this Box Hill outfit that got the job done. No bigger star on this occasion than Harry Morrison, who shone, recording a game-high 33 touches, along with 7 marks and 9 clearances. He notched up 11 score involvements in all, which included a team-high 3 goals for himself. This was a very surprising performance from Harry. It's not to say he's not a good player or doesn't have it in him, but it's a very complete game, the likes of which I don't think I've seen from Morrison before. That goal-kicking nous and the accumulation, it was very comprehensive.
Well, he's been getting a lot of the pill, but expect him to be totally overlooked if Cam Mackenzie is more likely to... I think he's more likely to come back in the side.
Yeah, Cam Mackenzie with 29 touches. He was also everywhere. He recorded a team-high 10 clearances as well, 7 score involvements and 4 marks. You knew from the outset that he was on. He had a red-hot start and just had a real presence that continued all throughout the game, and he still looks very slight, and he's still a very young man, but once he's out there, he doesn't play like it, which I think is the key.
His timing and awareness is brilliant, and that translates even to AFL level. He doesn't look out of place. Can we get to Jai Sarong? Because he is the main story here. I think if we are to play finals, I think Jai Sarong comes into this lineup.
It's hard to argue against that because he was excellent again. 28 touches at 89% disposal efficiency, at best distributor of the footy on the day with those stats. He also had 13 marks, 8 tackles. There's not much more he could possibly do at this point, Tiz. That should be said. He needs to get back into the senior side. He's bloody earned it. When that's going to come, I'm not sure. But he keeps on turning in these performances week in, week out. He has been a crucial cog for Box Hill for a long time now. I'm not sure what else he needs to do.
You've got to reward the kid too, because he'll start looking elsewhere. You know, he's too good for that Box Hill side.
Yeah, that's my worry, is that he has established that he's above that level now, and he deserves to prove what he can do at AFL level. And he's gotten opportunities here and there, but yeah, the door's being held shut on him at the moment, and I wonder how long he hangs in there, especially if we're looking at Battle, especially if we're looking at Barrass.
Well, you can't get both of them. You get one, and it'll be more likely to be Battle than Barrass because they've committed to Battle earlier. But you know, the other thing I really liked about the VFL was our ruckman kick goals. Max Ramsden and Clay Tucker both kicked a goal. Ramsden was terrific. 15 touches, 6 marks, 4 tackles, 2 clearances, and his goal. Clay Tucker, 9 touches, registered 2 goals, 1, including the icing on the game. So that and Jasper Scaife, our forward line is very makeshift down there. They haven't played a lot of games together.
That was the exact word I was going to land on as well, mate. It is a bit makeshift, but, you know, they're getting it done more often than not. You know, Ramsden, Tucker and Scaife.
Scaife could do whatever he liked, you know, in the next month. He's getting confidence. He's kicked 2 goals, 2 this weekend. And he, you know, I went a bit early. He sort of came back to the pack a bit, but he's starting to push through again. And he does look like a real talent, doesn't he?
Well, I think it was good that you went early because I think it's going to pay off. I think it was good to go that early because everything I'm seeing from him is, you know, I just take stock of his age. Like, he's not even 20, right?
He's got a body and he knows how to use it. You know, he pitches himself, holds a position.
All I kept on thinking was, geez, give this guy a few years. I mean, wow. He arrived at the club with an 18-month contract, so we've got time. We're going to get some good looks at what Scaife can do. And I think by the time he gets to the end of that contract, we'll just give him another one, honestly. It's all looking pretty good for Jasper Scaife. In our best for this game, in our 22-point win, Morrison, McKenzie, Ramsden, Arundel making a huge statement on his return to the club. He's making a big impact. It's a wonderful goal with Ramsden's tap as well. I loved that. Sarong and McDonald also rounding out the best goals. Morrison had 3, as we said. Tucker, Scaife, Arundel with 2. Ramsden, O'Sullivan, Horner and Agosta pitched in there with 1 each. Morrison, 33 touches. McKenzie, 29. Sarong, 28. Hustwaite keeps on keeping on. I feel like he gets in his mid-20s for disposals every week now. Hustwaite with 24. McDonald, 23. Arundel, 22. Next, it's 11th taking on 5th. The Hawks are headed north to slay the Giants this coming Sunday morning. It's quite an early one, this one. 11:05 a.m. at Blacktown International Sports Complex. So, 11th taking on 5th. The Giants have strung together back-to-back wins. They just beat Casey at Casey Fields, so good win on the road, that one, even though Casey aren't doing amazingly this year. It's hard to know what to expect from Box Hill anytime they go on the road. I'll be perfectly honest. I can back him in 100% at Fenju Stadium. On their home turf, I reckon they can be really good. I start to worry anytime they go anywhere else.
So this is only one of 2 games left, isn't it? Because we've got the bye in the second last week. And then we have ladder leaders Werribee. So they've really got to get the most out of themselves this week.
They're going to have to do it, unfortunately, without Josh Bennett as we move into the injury updates now. Josh Bennett's with a shoulder problem. He's going to need surgery. And so he's been ruled out for the rest of the season. That's it now.
He got a tough decision to make there. Hasn't debuted, been on the list. Played very well at VFL level, become an integral part of the ball movement machine they've got going, and it's a very unlucky time to get a injury, but these things happen, and hopefully he's got enough runs on the board.
Yep, he would have liked the opportunity to really just bring it home, those impressions, and really push his case to get another signature, to get another contract. Sorry, I would sign him for another year. I think based on what he has shown to date in this season, I think he's earned it, and I see the improvement, and I enjoy watching him play. I would give him one more year.
It's getting tough though. Like, you got to have a turnover in the list, and you can't just take that same list into next year.
Ned Reeves with a back injury, 1 to 2 weeks away, and then Chad Wingard with his calf is set to be a test. They'll bring him back via the VFL. He'll play managed minutes just as he did before on return from injury. But we had a question from Nick. Fantastic name. Parents just crushed it there, Nick. Chad Wingard, what does his future look like? If he was fit and good to go, where does he actually fit in the team now?
Where he always played.
Yeah, but are you playing him though?
No, I'm not playing him. No. It's very hard to come back from the injury he got. We were both relieved that he got another contract in which he could recover and recuperate. And I'm sorry to say, but I think it's the end of the road for Chad. I do. And certainly our list has passed him. Our list has gone past him, so he may have an opportunity elsewhere, but it won't be at Hawthorn.
I think that is more the point. It's just where our list is at. There is no necessity to play Wingard. He would be there as insurance, really. Even then, you're probably trying younger talent ahead of him to see what you've got. Yeah.
You can't have 3 small to medium forwards who are just there coaching. You can't, right? Next year, you're going to have Gunston, Brewston and Wingard, and you're not going to be able to, rely on many games out of them.
So we've got to look ahead to any changes. I mean, we went into the Adelaide game completely unchanged. Now we've got GWS at Monaco Oval, Sunday, August 4th at 1:10 p.m. Do we pull the trigger on Sarong now, or do we wait?
I think they probably wait until we meet Carlton. They might just back themselves. They're winning. They're confident. They got Weddle there. He seems to be able to do incredible things, even when he's out of position. Giath coming back with the flight of the ball, presuming he's fine. He can close down the space, be third man up. They've done very well, but I just think he deserves some kind of uplift there. And look, if we win this week, that'll mean we can probably bank 3 of the 4, right? And Carlton aren't playing very well. I was so edgy talking about this because we're so close. And with the form side of the competition, bar Brisbane, there's no one better in the last few months.
Well, I mean, we're talking at the pub, right? And I was reflecting upon the mid-season review that we did, and what I said to you is that Hawthorn have, to this point in the season, from our bye to now, they surpassed my expectations. They've won more than I thought they would.
They've surprised everyone, Nick.
Well, true.
Oh, look, what do I expect this weekend? GWS were piss poor in that first half against Melbourne. And then Melbourne returned the favour in the second half.
And then right at the end decided that they would play after all.
Once the main contingent of Melbourne supporters in the 16,000 that did bother to roll up had left the stadium, they decided to put their foot down and try to win it. Very, very strange.
Well, mate, we know from their recent premiership they do their best work when there's no Melbourne fans in attendance.
That's a harsh thing to say, isn't it? That's shocking.
Oh, yeah, you really hate it. You would have loved the fact that we finally leapfrogged them.
Oh, yeah. And Essendon in the one weekend. Brilliant.
Oh, the salt from Essendon supporters as well. And the scarf going out into the ground. It was just too good.
I didn't think the umpire had to put it on before he threw it back. But anyway.
I mean, it's a little bit on the nose, isn't it? Saying the quiet part out loud, I think that's what they call that.
Sarong's not the only one that better prepare for Carlton. Have you seen how well they get looked after by the umps? My goodness.
Oh, and their supporters still complain. Curnow deserves more than he gets, is the assertion from their fans.
I didn't realise that the umps not only awarded the Brownlow but also the Coleman, but apparently they do. So...
Very good from you, mate. Very good. I got to say that I'm a little bit nervous about this game. I mean, as per my predictions from mid-season, I had us dropping it, and I still feel that way. Just something about it.
I think what that GWS midfielder Tom Green said the other day should have absolutely required weeks. There's no freedom of speech in AFL, and he should not be allowed to criticise the umpires in the way that he did. That was terrible, and I've written to the AFL seeking explanation as to why he was allowed to play.
Become a bit of a habit for Tom Green, hitting people off the ball.
Oh, jeez.
Already cost him once.
Anyway, I didn't have Tom Green down as a hothead, but apparently he is. So hopefully he brings that heat to, like you just reminded me, costs them the game again.
We need to get to our social media stuff. We're all about building our community of listeners here at the Hawk Talk podcast. And one way to do that is word of mouth, of course. We'd love for you to do us a favour. Your mission, should you choose to accept it, go forth and plug our show to fellow Hawkers. Let them know we're out there and worth a listen. Beyond word of mouth, of course, if you like what we do, you can also leave us a rating or a review on whatever platform you're listening to this. We'd really appreciate that. Now, there's also nothing like basking in a brilliant win with our Brown and Gold Army online. Get on board, join the community on our social channels, get chatting with many other diehard Hawkers. It's a good time. You can find us on X, Facebook, and Instagram. We've notched up some huge milestones there in the past week, so just this community growing all the time is fantastic to see. And finally, we'd like to take this moment to pay tribute to our proud, passionate, and paid-up Patreon subscribers. An emphatic thank you for all your support, and a shout-out to our latest subscriber, Ruby. Welcome aboard, and thanks for getting around our show. It's our subscribers who make all this possible and allow us to put time into this show each and every week in spite of our busy, busy lives. Now, perhaps you're out there listening to this, weighing up whether to show your favourite Hawthorn podcast a little bit of love. Well, you can head to our Patreon page, sign up, get a stack of bonus content, and sooner or later, we're going to be in the off-season, and that is a great time for extra stuff no one else gets. So just a heads up about that. All the more reason to become a subscriber. All the details are at patreon.com/HawkTalkPod.
Now, while we were at the pub on the weekend, we must have been a little bit too loud, eh? We were noticed and identified by Tom, who had a question for us. At the end of the match, he came up and he said, if we get two of, say, Perryman, Battle, Barrass and Smith, who's first out of this lineup?
I mean, that was masterful from Tom. It was most impressive manoeuvre to, say, nice to meet you boys, and here's this amazing question. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. It was great. And it is a fantastic question. It's one I've been thinking about, and I don't like thinking about it because it's tough. Who do I want to take out of this lineup? Because I know I want the talent to come in, but I like... This is the problem, see. I like our team so much at the moment. I'm so high on Hawthorn that I kind of don't want to change anything. And it feels harsh to remove anyone from the lineup.
Let me sell you the dream of bringing Battle in and putting Weddle forward of centre and midfield.
All right, I'm in.
Let me sell you the dream of having Perryman as a backup for Hardwick, who's gone forward as well.
All right, I'm already sold on it. Jeez.
Who can also go through the midfield. I think Barrass is going to be too expensive in terms of draft picks and what West Coast would want, unless we're picking up a huge part of his contract. Do you know what I mean? I think he's on a lot of money over there, and they're going to want the world for him to leave.
Well, that's my concern as well, but curiously, a report emerged this evening, right before we hit record, that Sam Mitchell, shortly after the win over Adelaide, the team returned home to Melbourne, but he hopped a plane to WA. He met with Barrass personally. So, I mean, things are heating up there. We are seriously keen.
That puts a lot of pressure on Battle too, because they're like, what are you doing, mate? Like, we're going to have to talk to Barrass if you're not going to commit.
Pretty much, yep. And in terms of the cost, I'm right there with you. I think it will be insane for Barrass. And Battle's a bit younger as well, isn't he? Part of me thinks, let's go the younger option as well. But
Barrass is a fantastic defender. Like, I don't think you can compare Barrass is 29. He'll be 30 next year. But his ability to read the football is much better than Battle. His ability to win one-on-one is much better than Battle. I think he improves us out of sight very quickly. I think he's played a role very similar to what we're going to ask him to play at Hawthorn.
I think, look, I'm trying to recall whether I was talking to you about this on the podcast or whether it was just in our regular daily lives. In any case, I think it's our trade targets that really flag our intent here. You know, it's the guys that we want to bring into the club. I think communicates that internally, Hawthorn is a club that says our time is coming real quick. You know, we are really bullish on what this group is able to do, and the talent we're bringing in is to complete the puzzle. And, you know, Barrass, he is on the older side, but you'd get him for about 3 years, and that right there, that's the window.
It is the window, and it's also the window for talent shuts around that point with at the end of that, when Tassie joins the league and they siphon off a lot of talent from other teams and from the draft. People are very high on the draft talent this year, so you've got to keep that in mind. We probably want to keep our first rounder this year, okay? Or you can take it the other way. You can say, if we're getting rid of a first rounder this year, that's worth a lot more than, say, a first rounder was last year, okay? So it's interesting. We still haven't answered Tom, though. Who are we dropping out of this lineup?
I don't want to drop anyone, Tiz. This sucks. Like, this question's so hard because, I mean, we've been up for such a long time, and I look at their faces, look at the selfies. They're all having so much fun. I don't want to drop any of them.
I'm not that sentimental.
I knew you wouldn't be.
So Bruce, obviously.
In terms of list management, Bruce, Gunston, and Wingard are close to being off the list, you'd say.
Yeah, but he's in the side. And then I'm not sure what they do with McGuinness this week either. I think you can't have him as sub again. I think he needs to play somewhere. But just talking about the lineup going forward, if you've got rid of Bruce because Weddle's gone forward or gone up to play in the midfield and they've got a rotation there, then you've got one of your defenders, either Battle or Barrass. If Smith comes in, then you've got to get rid of one of your faves. Like, who are you getting rid of?
One of my faves. Why are all my faves in the gun? It's unfair. Stop ruining a fun season, please. Anyway, we appreciate the question from Tom.
Smith would come in and Ward would go out, but you've got your defensive wingman as Giath. He'd stay. You know, he's doing some wonderful stuff. I hope we've helped Tom there, but oh, look, it's a great question. And this is exactly what they're doing in the recruiting arm at the moment at Hawthorn, trying to get this right. You've got to remember, they got this right when the other sides ended the comp, and we had a very, very sustained period of excellent team management. So they're going to try to emulate that again, and you can see it happening.
Thanks again to Tom. Wonderful to meet you. And we do encourage people to say hi if they recognise us, if they recognise our voices. Very kind of people when they do that, and they have kind words to say about the podcast, and always lovely to meet our followers, to meet our listeners. We heard from Doc. If we make the final 8, are we a realistic chance of notching some wins? I believe the boys will dare to dream, and that youthful momentum could take us deep. Imagine that experience for them.
Yeah, so when I filled out the ladder predictor and got us into 8th, and Port Adelaide went into 9th, we ended up playing the Dogs, and easy win, as a matter of fact. So
that would be massive. You know, there are some people that have us playing Geelong. I mean, wow.
No, I think just after the last 24 hours, I think the wheels fall off a bit.
Of Geelong? Okay. My position, as per Doc's question here, is, well, it's the same as it's been for a long time. If we make finals, if Hawthorn qualifies, that means we've just stormed home. Basically, that we maintain this incredible form for the most part. And at that point, once we've qualified, it feels like anything's possible. And I think the opposition teams, whoever we're against, know that, and they'd be bloody terrified to play us.
This was something that is not really related to it, but we were talking about online, what was the most enjoyable premiership? Which was the most fun? Would this be, people were saying this is the most fun side we've had, and that you said that was recency bias, just because it was happening now didn't mean it was any more fun than, it was in the past.
No, it was being compared to winning flags. Yeah, that's recency bias, mate. I'm not shying away from that. It is, as I replied, this is a unique flavour. This is fun in its own right, and it is a lot of fun right now. I am loving this season. However it ends, whenever it ends, I know I won't want it to have ended. I'm having a great time.
The Peroxide Hawks of 2001 were a lot of fun as well. But I said the 08 Premiership was easily the most fun I've ever had at a footy game. And what that has to do with is the weight of expectations. I had no expectations that day, and I enjoyed every moment of it. But you turn up to 13, redemption, 14, okay, we've got to prove that we can actually do this. We've been this good for so long. 15, that was a lot of fun again, because it didn't really matter. And after the first 20 minutes, it was all over anyway. But that's my point. We get into finals this year, the weight of expectation is not there, and you play with the attacking ferocity that we've played with, you can really get the wind up some teams that have got the pressure of expectation hanging on them.
Doc had another question. Considering our form, is missing finals considered a failure? Or do we still consider it a successful season just on our run and the total season wins?
Well, the lesson will be, get it right earlier. Eke out a couple of wins earlier. And the fact that you can't get absolutely steamrolled when you do lose, that's the lesson. But no, this year is a success because it's so much better than last year.
It is a success for sure, and you can't suddenly throw that away just because you fall at the last hurdle, which is still a realistic possibility. And if that happens, it should not dent the narrative that it proved a hell of a lot of people wrong for a start, and that feels good. And it was enjoyable every step there. So look forward to seeing what happens in the next 4 weeks. Our last question here for the episode, one from Pridgie, long-time listener Pridgie. Who do you want to play in week 1 of the finals? And have you got tickets to the PCM yet? Celebrating the flag with the boys is going to be extra special. # where is the lid?
This might be the last day to get cheaper tickets for the PCM. I think it's the end of July they shut that window. But we've done well against other guys in the finals. We shouldn't worry too much. Apart from the guys right near the top of the ladder, Sydney gave us a walloping. We shouldn't be worried about getting our nose rubbed in it.
Look, Hawthorn aside, just a commentary on this season, it really is quite crazy. Like it's one of those seasons where whoever qualifies, you could probably see them going all the way, right?
Yeah, very even.
Every team on their day, you give them a chance. You wouldn't say it was ludicrous. And so if we make the 8, we become part of that conversation. It's as simple as that. Who do you want to play in week 1 of finals, though? That is Pridgie's question.
Who's the weakest?
Yeah, that's the conclusion I arrive at as well.
Carlton?
Oh.
Well, I mean, they'd be a chance of missing the top 4 if we beat them and make finals. That could be very, very interesting.
There's a sort of a brash, obnoxious part of me that wants us to face Geelong and kick them out of the finals race week 1.
I just want to leave on what I think is an excellent question. And Angelo has asked.
G'day, Angelo. Thank you for writing in. This is a family friend, by the way.
What did Ginnivan say to Taylor Walker after he kicked the goal to stop Adelaide having their only goalless second half ever?
What was the back and forth between them? Because, I mean, Taylor couldn't be racist, could he?
Oh, that's not... God. We're not bringing that up at the end of the pod. We're already in federal court or whatever it is. This is...
Yeah. Hawthorn supporters probably not best positioned to be throwing those stones. Bit of a glass house at the moment. I concede that. But no, it's staying in. Bugger it. Mate, so just to flag it, because I know that people do follow our coverage on social media, I'll be busy. I'll unfortunately have to miss this game live against the Giants. So question without notice, Tiz. Do you want to do a Tiz takeover? Do you want to jump on X and do a bit of coverage, or what are you feeling?
Absolutely. I will do that, and I'll ride us home, even in the snow up there. Is it going to snow again? It's bloody cold enough here.
I hope so, because we do bloody well in the snow. That's been proven. So we'll use the hashtag TizTakeover. You'll be manning the socials, and we'll go from there. Hopefully, when I get a chance to tune in and see what's happened, I'll have found that we've scored the 4 points. And with all that being said, it's time to wrap up for this edition of the Hawk Talk podcast. Of course, we'll be back to recap all the action from our game against GWS and all the VFL action as well. We'll catch you next week. We are a happy team at Hawthorn.